Let's face it, hiring help is not easy these days. Let XenTegra Staffing help you find the right person for the right job. Head over to XenTegra.com/XenTegra Staffing to find out more and let us staff your people needs. Welcome to another Citrix Session with your host, Andy Whiteside and Bill Sutton, your source for all things Citrix.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of the Citrix Session. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. I have with me, of course, Director of Services at XenTegra, Bill Sutton. Bill, how's it going?
Going well today, Andy. Thanks.
You survived the holidays with two smaller children, right?
I did.
It's today's my first day with the kids back at school, so life is somewhat back to normal.
Same here.
Hopefully Santa was good to you and you got a bunch of cool technology toys.
Well, a Raspberry Pi, if you call that a cool technology toy.
Oh, for sure.
Works great with Citrix.
Did it come? How does that come? Does it come with anything on it, or did you just load something on it?
It was a kit, so it came with the OS on a micro SD card.
Okay, and the OS would be what?
It's a version of Linux called Raspbian.
Okay, that shows you how much I know about the Raspberry Pi space. I'm sure.
Yeah, the new one actually supports dual monitors. It has dual micro SD connections or micro HDMI connections, so you can support dual monitors without the requirement for the second appliance.
And you are using this as a Citrix endpoint at this point?
I have tested it as a Citrix endpoint. I'm not using it right now.
And my key question for you is, does it keep up, from a client side with the Citrix workload and the data flow and the frame rates and things?
Yeah, I haven't tested it fully in that regard. All I did out of the box was made sure I could get connected and leverage both monitors initially anyways, but I'll be doing more work with it later.
All right, one more question. Now, who was it that got you the Raspberry Pi?
My wife.
And did she surprise you with that, or you asked for it?
A little bit of both. I had mentioned it. I dropped some hints, and she picked up on them.
Wow. Interesting. All right, well, good to hear you had a good holiday. David Strat is with us. David is a VP of Product Management at Citrix, and David wrote a blog recently called Bridge the Employee Experience Gap with Microapp Technology. So if you've been following what we've been talking about here, the Citrix workspace world is evolving and adding more and more applications through the microapp technologies and real-time collaboration and information from those microapps. And David's blog here kind of goes through that. David, how's it going?
It's going great, Andy. Nice to be with you today.
Did you get a Raspberry Pi for Christmas or something cool?
No Raspberry Pi for me. No.
Did you get any cool technology?
But good holiday. Good vacation overall. A good book. To be honest with you, I always enjoy one of those during the holiday, catching up on my reading.
No, that's great. One of the things I'm sure most of the technology guys listening, they're probably in the same boat as you and I and Bill. And these days, we don't wait for Christmas to buy ourselves stuff. We just go out and buy it. Takes seconds on Amazon or wherever to order it.
That's
and an Amazon clause shows up the next day, and there you go. Christmas every day.
That's right.
Christmas every day. There you go.
So, David, you want to give us a little bit more about your background before we jump into the blog here?
Yes, absolutely. So great to be with you guys. I've been with Citrix for about 2 years now. I've been driving the evolution of the Citrix workspace strategy, mostly towards what we call the workspace intelligence theme, and really evolving the workspace experience to not only build on how we organize work, but help guiding and automating work. And so, as of last year, we actually made our microapp capabilities and workspace with intelligence available to our workspace customers. And that's really the result of a year of investment that we made at Citrix to integrate technology we acquired back at the end of 2018. And I'm really excited about this because I think it really positions Workspace to enable really what I believe will be 2020 as a leap year in employee experience. So we can go into more detail as you want to, Andy, but really happy to be with you guys today.
Well, and so the technology you guys acquired was SAP?
A company called Safo. We acquired them back in November of 2018. I drove that acquisition, kind of setting the vision for our workspace intelligence strategy. We've been kind of working through integrating that technology throughout 2019 to make it part of Citrix Workspace. And so as of late last year, this is now available for our Workspace customers to use, and it's available in all the editions of Workspace. We actually redefined a little bit the entry-level edition of Workspace called Workspace Standard to incorporate our microapps capabilities as well as basic content collaboration. And on top of that, you naturally have Workspace Premium and Premium Plus. But I really think that, yeah, go ahead.
We get into the weeds real quick, and then we'll get back at them. When you say Workspace, you're talking about specifically the Workspace service.
I'm talking about Citrix Workspace, the offering, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, Citrix has had a Workspace offering, the traditional kind of on-prem offering for a while, right? And this is the Workspace Premium, the Workspace service, right? Or does the traditional? So
this is a Workspace. So in Citrix Cloud, we have an offering called Citrix Workspace. It comes in 3 editions: Standard, Premium, Premium Plus. The Standard is the entry level that includes single sign-on to your SaaS applications, micro apps within the Workspace interface or embedded into third parties like Microsoft Teams, and then basic content collaboration. So that's your entry level, wall-to-wall productivity that is new as of end of last year. And on top of that, you have the Premium edition, which adds some of our security capabilities around endpoint management and advanced access control. And then Premium Plus is our top level edition that adds virtualization. So that constitutes the Workspace offering in Citrix Cloud.
Okay, yeah, great. Okay, well let's kind of walk through the blog and kind of go through what you're covering there. And then I think you had a different additional post based on what you guys did in 2019 that you had maybe done on LinkedIn that you wanted to bring into that conversation.
Yeah, so I think, so to me, two things, right? Maybe we start with the end, right? What did we add to Citrix Workspace? So if you think about Citrix Workspace as a set of capabilities, what I talk about in the blog is really how it enables unified and secure access to all things you need to be productive, right? Your content, your apps, your data, all integrate your virtual applications, all integrated into an intuitive and personalized workflow. With microapps, what we have added is really the ability to deaggregate line of business applications and to expose in the context of Citrix Workspace focused interaction, we call it focused experiences, that can be delivered as notification or as micro actions, unit of work that you can interact with. So now it doesn't really matter how many applications you interact with during your day-to-day, the 80% of function, the 20% of functionality that you use 80% of the time. So think about like the main set of use cases. You can embed them as micro apps within the Workspace experience and enable these unified workflows to now integrate with your cloud application or your homegrown and legacy apps that you are looking to modernize. So this is the continuation of the modernized IT theme that we tend to see a lot at Citrix, and how you can leverage Workspace to really expose that 20% of functionality that people use 80% of the time as micro apps into Workspace. Now, in addition to that, we can extend that experience into third parties. So we're embracing tools like Team, that are team collaboration tool, versus the Workspace, which is more your individual productivity environment. And we can extend these micro apps into the Teams environment, as well as a new set of capabilities that we're adding to the Workspace around virtual assistants. So there, this is really how we're building the theme around this notion of guiding and automating work. We are evolving Workspace to incorporate intelligence capabilities, and the virtual assistant is clearly enabling that, where now these various system of records that you may interact on a day-to-day basis with, when you have simple questions around, what's my PTO balance? We just finished the holidays, you took some time off, you want to know how much PTO you have left. Maybe you have new approvals that you haven't really been paying attention to, and you want to see what do I need to approve. So you just ask the virtual assistant, and it gives you kind of a short list, one-stop shop answers to those basic questions that you have. And that same virtual assistant capabilities, you can consume it inside Workspace or inside a third-party tool like Microsoft Teams. And so really, we're building this intelligence functionality that can give you, guidance and assistance when you need it. In addition to a unified feed of information that can help you guide your work. By leveraging machine learning, we are able to kind of prioritize the information that is most relevant to you based on your context in that unified feed of information, so that we can surface things like approvals that you need to perform, or insight that you may want to get from internal business reporting tools that you're connected to, informational type content coming from external sources, things that just help you be more productive, kind of all unified into that intelligent feed that can guide your work. And as you do that, now you have access to things like single-click approvals and just simplified ways to perform your actions. So you spend essentially less time doing busy work, right? And our whole focus around automation is, how do you just remove the busy work out of our day-to-day lives so that we can focus on value creation, which is really why most of us are hired to do, which is how do we create value for our organizations, as opposed to doing work about work, which is what a lot of those systems that we interact with add to our day-to-day workflows.
Yeah, that's good. I kind of wanted to kind of go back through and kind of walk through the blog, because you did a really great job setting it up. And I think everything you just touched on, you covered in the blog. I guess it probably makes sense to just kind of highlight something we've done a couple of times on these podcasts. And that is, we're doing this for the future workers that we expect to have that need to be kind of managed, and you need to kind of find technology ways to manage their day so that they don't get distracted by other types of things that are happening that are also trying to get their attention, like, websites and other social media that's popping up left and right around them. And so you start the blog by talking about the challenges of IT and getting started and controlling, being part of someone's day and bringing all this together, and how you guys are using the micro apps and making the micro app builder something that allows you, the IT organizations, without additional outside help, to get these integrations to happen. Really good job setting that up. Do you want to just make any comments there around the business at hand and why it's important? Citrix sees it as important to be tackling that space.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if we absolutely. So there is if we look at the various waves of technology over the past several years, we see an interesting trend, right? I mean, first was kind of like the cloudification of our line of business applications, SaaS applications. That was supposed to help with a poor internal system experience and kind of give people just, constantly updated, more modernized application to work with, and was going to improve productivity. Then mobility came in, and having access to all the information at our fingertip was supposed to make us more productive. The interesting thing, though, is when you watch those various waves of technology, productivity, if anything, has gone down. It's not going up. And one of the challenges that we see, quite frankly, is yes, we've got better systems, but we've got so many more of them. They don't talk to each other very well. They're all disconnected in silos. We constantly get interrupted with all these mobile applications where we have a dozen notifications at a minimum in each of them. And so, it creates a significant cognitive overload in being able to keep up with all that information. And so too much complexity is really becoming a problem. It's impacting our day-to-day experiences. It's impacting our productivity. At the same time, engagement within organization is not great, right? We have statistics that show that 80% plus of the employee population is disengaged. So when you start combining these factors of constant interruption, too much complexity, employee disengagement, you have a real problem on our end. And so the real focus that we are trying what we're trying to focus on with Workspace is how do we simplify that complexity? How do we bring into the workspace only the relevant applications, content, information that you need to interact with? When you go to an application like Workday, I don't know about you, but I use like 5 things in Workday. There's 100 features in there, if not thousands, right? But I always do 5 things. But it's not necessarily, those 5 things are not necessarily elevated in a way where it's easy for me to access it. So how do we streamline this? How do we make those 5 things easily available to you as an employee, as an information worker? So there's a real opportunity to simplify the experience, and we can build on our DNA, on what Citrix is good at, which is really, aggregation of applications. But now we can deaggregate those applications so we can surface the right transaction within the workspace. We can unify and provide access to your content. So you have a unified and secure place to work that brings, that work down, the noise down, that enable you to focus on the right and the important things, all unified in the workspace environment. So really, that's really what we're set out to do. And then once we have this unified environment, we can start building intelligence to do things in a smarter way on your behalf, or to help you do things in a smarter way. Does that make sense?
No, it certainly does. Citrix forever has been known as a place where you go get access to Windows-related things, Microsoft application-related things. But I think what you guys are doing here is you're opening up the box to all other aspects of applications, whether it's SaaS or traditional x86 apps or other applications and content.
Exactly. That's right.
Trying to be that landing page that you've been for a lot of organizations, but now expanding that portfolio. Bill, any questions, comments on what we've covered so far?
No, you hit it right on the head. I think it is that landing page, but I think, like David said, it really is all about simplifying and deaggregating. I hadn't heard that term, but that makes sense in terms of bringing to the forefront those elements of applications that users interact with most frequently, such that they don't have to drill down into those applications for routine activities, and eliminate some of the context switching that we all have to do in jumping between various applications.
Yeah, while David was explaining that a while ago, I just couldn't help but think of using the Citrix workspace with the intelligence, with the integrations, with the assistant, same way I use Alexa at home, right? Where anytime I don't know something, I go there first and ask, and 9 out of 10 times I get exactly what I'm looking for on the first try.
And I think that's a great analogy, actually, right? If you think about our consumer lives and our consumer experiences, we interact with information that comes from, dozens, if not hundreds of websites. But we never go to 100 websites. We have a feed application, pick your pick, right? Whether you consume that information in Facebook, in Google, in some other more specific feed information that kind of help you consume information more easily. You have a question, you ask Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant based on what you want to do, and you get the answer, right? You want to know the game of whether the Patriots are still in the play for the playoffs, and you just ask, and you get the answer. So, how do we bring those type of experiences in the workplace? Today, it's not the case, right? We do have to go to a dozen websites or a dozen applications to get things done. Finding things is still a real problem. There is no easy way to just ask something and get an answer. You got to go to different places to get it. Something as simple as getting your balance for PTO could take you 10 to 15 minutes. Because you know what, you don't do it all that often, and when you do it, you gotta log in to Workday. If you're lucky, you get single sign-on, but then you gotta find the report that has the information that you're looking for. And if you're not super familiar with that application and haven't done it in 3 months, you don't remember where it is, and you have to refamiliarize yourself with this type of tool. So there's a real opportunity to simplify, and that's really what we're trying to do here.
So, David, I have 2 topics I want you to cover, and one of them is in your blog here, and that is how APIs from the various application vendors tie in here, and how Citrix admins and other IT folks are going to tie into those APIs using the tools you provide, as well as third-party services like XenTegra could offer in terms of helping to develop the API integrations.
Absolutely. So let me talk through kind of starting from the beginning, right? So as we talk about delivering those focused experiences, how do we really do this? So the experience part of what an end user sees is either a notification that comes in their feed. That notification is going to have detailed information, or it's an action that they are going to interact with in a workspace. That action could be create an opportunity in Salesforce, right? So very kind of simplified set of actions that you interact with. Now the question is, well, how do you expose this? The way we expose this is through a new service that we added to Citrix Cloud called the microapp service. That microapp service has now the ability to integrate with the system of records. We provide some out-of-the-box integrations that are essentially pre-integrated with the APIs of those target systems. So we have about 14 of them out of the box. And then for each of those integrations, there is a number of microapps. Think about microapps as those notifications and actions that I talked about. And so we have about 150 plus microapps that are pre-built that we make available. Now, 150, 13 integration, that's still a fairly small number when we think about the richness of the application ecosystem that our customers have. So this is where there is an opportunity to add custom integrations. And so today, where we create custom integration is through our HTTP integration. So basically, if you have a REST endpoint, you can connect to that REST endpoint. And then from that REST endpoint, you can really define the data, the entities, the attributes that you want to expose in your micro applications. And then from there, you can leverage low-code tooling. So basically a WYSIWYG drag and drop way to specify either a condition that we decide when do you want to trigger a notification. So it may be, only trigger a notification for opportunities coming from Salesforce that are above $1 million, right? And then you can build the UI for either actions or details on a notification through a drag and drop tool that enables you to create these pages. So really, the key there is, in order to enable those integrations, you do need to have some sort of REST APIs that we can connect to. And so, for legacy applications, that's not always going to be the case, right? Obviously, a lot of applications out there were created either without any formalized APIs or definitely without REST. If that's the case, and you could just expose an API for the key function that you want to make available broadly. So you don't have to refactor your entire application. You just expose that one API access point, maybe because it's a system a legacy ticketing system that you have, and you want to be able to create a ticket and view a ticket detail. So you create an API just for that piece of functionality, and you would leverage our low-code tooling to drag and drop, create a UI that can be exposed in the workspace application. So I'll go into some details on how we enable that with the tooling that we have created. And because those legacy applications are not always reliable from a performance standpoint, we follow a pattern that we call the extract, transform, and notify. So we will sync and just store the active data that is meaningful to serve the transaction that we expose. That way, we decouple the modern interface that you just built from the legacy application that you have running in your organization. Does that make sense?
No, it definitely does, and I think there's for some of us like me, it's been more on the sysadmin side of things, right? I'll get to a point in that where I feel comfortable, and then that's where I'll bring in an expert that can help me develop the APIs if my app didn't come.
Exactly.
And then potentially even tie into those APIs the additional use cases that I may be looking for. But I'm sure Citrix is committed, at least for the mainstream applications, to continue to evolve there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the mainstream applications is where we are investing in enabling and delivering these integration templates, right? That are kind of like get you 80% of the way and oftentimes your application will have some customization and you may need to tweak it and adjust it for your business needs. For your homegrown systems or more like niche applications, that's where you need to obviously do the integration work. And that's where there's definitely an opportunity to work with a partner, like XenTegra, to be able to do that work and help modernize these legacy apps.
So Bill, I do want you to chime in here if you have any questions or comments. I do have this one paragraph in the blog: extract, transform, and notify. David, I don't know if you've mentioned that yet or not, but I like that acronym that you guys are using. Can you just highlight what those three words mean when put together that way?
Yeah, happy to. So think about it as, when you connect to an endpoint. So I'm going to use my ticketing example, right? You say you have a legacy ticketing app and you want to create ticket or view ticket or be notified when an action on a ticket is taken. So when we connect to that system, we have APIs that we connect to, but that could be a legacy application. It's not very good at sending events. So what we'll do is we'll just extract the active tickets that we need to monitor. So that's the extract part, right? And as we extract them, we'll put them in a cache where we'll keep them as active data. And sometimes as we extract that data, because we need to serve either notification workflows, creation workflows, we may transform that data to make it a little bit more easily consumable in an end user experience. And then we'll monitor for change. And, as one of those tickets changes state, then we'll be able to detect the change and notify the end user about that change. So this is really what that pattern outlines. One of the key things about it is it really decouples the performance of your legacy application from the performance of the more modern notification-driven app, and enable kind of a separation so that you can ensure that you deliver on that modern experience while not necessarily having the impact of having to depend on the response time of the source application. In that case, the ticketing application that I was giving as an example. So it's a pattern that we have integrated into on how we deal with building these micro apps that are addressing notification type use cases.
So Bill, Mr. Technical guy, or more technical than me, I'm sure there are some things that spawn some questions in your head on that one.
Sure. So this almost sounds, and you mentioned it, I think, David, that like a cache for notifications, such that,
right.
such that it doesn't have to constantly poll the backend service. Correct.
That's correct. Yeah. So basically,
I was going to say, and so what about on the notify part when you're pushing a response back to that? Is it caching that, or is it sending that instantly? How is it handling the notification?
Yeah, we do a two-phase commit when you perform an action.
Okay.
Right? We'll update the cache first, and then we deal with the propagation back to the system of record on the kind of a. So there is we have to deal with that potential delay on the source system, but that also abstract the end user from any performance issues that could happen on that source application.
Right. Okay.
David, in the next section here, it says helps users take action with guidance. I think we've kind of covered that, right? But this is where you're kind of teeing the ball up for them to do the next thing in their job.
That's right.
Comments you want to make on this section?
Yeah, I think it's really the key functionality that we have added there, outside of just having an integrated feed of information, is really our investment in a virtual assistant, right? So now, if you are asking, you want to know the status of that ticket you just submitted, well, you could just ask the virtual assistant, say, hey, what's the status of my tickets? And it will respond to you with just the status of your tickets. The way it does that is, it's integrated with a natural language processing pipeline that understands your question. It's able to understand in the question that you ask, what is the question about, right? What do you mean by ticket? And then it's able to connect that entity, that element of question that you have, back to the system of record, here your ticketing system, so it can fetch an answer. And really, this is what we do in our day-to-day lives when we ask Alexa. And it works exactly the same way. It has an NLP pipeline. It extracts entities. Entities get propagated to the various systems that can answer the question. So basically, we've done something very similar, but now it's brought into the context of workspace. It's going against enterprise system, which is a lot more complicated to do, and it leverages a lot of that integration infrastructure that we put into play. And we provide tooling so that we enable you to configure, how you want a question to be answered. So we have also some tuning that you can provide to determine how you want to do data mapping, for example, back to answers that we send back. So again, it's part of our vision around simplifying work, enabling you to just ask questions, get answers back. And then we make that available into third-party tools. So, if you have a customer that's using something like Microsoft Teams and they want to be able to interact with Citrix Workspace in their Teams environment, they can do that. There's actually a lot of value in doing that because in a way, an application like Teams works today. Say you have configured Citrix Workspace to talk to, a ticketing system, ServiceNow or something else, an HR system, say Workday, and an expense management system, say Concur. So 3 systems, right? With Workspace, you can ask a question in Workspace and it will give you answers to any one of those 3 systems. In Teams today, when you configure what they call the apps or bots, you have to configure 3 bots. One for Workday, one for ServiceNow, one for Concur. And they all have different experiences and they all behave differently. Here, you have configured Workspace, and now Workspace becomes your aggregator, essentially, for interacting with the systems in the context of an application like Teams.
Hey, David, can you help me understand that? So would a user go to Teams and they would get the same benefits they would get out of Workspace, or they go to Workspace and it somehow goes back into Teams? Where do they?
So there are 2 flows. If I take the virtual assistant flow, which is I ask a question, I get an answer back. I can do that straight from Workspace, or I can do that in Teams. Doesn't matter, right? So in Teams, I can interact with the Citrix Workspace app, and you have to be familiar with the concept of app in Teams, right? And I can ask a question in Teams, and I'll get the same functionality around virtual assistant that I would get inside the Workspace app. That's one flow. The other flow is I got a notification in Workspace, and I want to share it with my team. Say I got a notification about, either like an incident. We have an incident from a high valued customer, and I want to make sure that the team is on the ball and is responding. Well, there I need team collaboration, right? I need people to be able to discuss the issue, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share that notification that I just got. I'm going to send it to Teams. So I provide the context from what I'm asking them to do, and then my team can collaborate from there. So 2 key workflows that we handle on how we integrate and extend and enhance the workspace experience with a collaboration tool like Microsoft Teams.
Well, that helped me a lot because I've been trying to understand the workflow of that and had a chance to see it firsthand. But
so you have the ability to essentially add that virtual assistant into Teams. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is right.
Okay.
Correct. 2 flows, right? You add the virtual assistant in Teams, and that gives you kind of answers from the systems that you have integrated Workspace with.
Right.
Wherever Teams happens to be one of the place, and when you want to collaborate on something, you can send to Teams the same way. You can you get an email on your you get an email on your cell phone, and you could share with, right? Here you're sending it to a Teams channel, and then the group collaboration can happen in that channel. So we're just leveraging those group collaboration tools and being able to easily integrate with them.
That help, Bill?
Oh, yeah.
All right, David, so you got 2 more sections here. The last one says automation. What are you trying to cover in that section?
Well, I mean, really, it's about like, when we talk about this, is really around how do we remove busy work? How do we make things like approvals simpler? How do we remove noise by just exposing what you need to do when you need to do it, right? So essentially helping you take actions more quickly. Eventually, what we're going to be able to do there is we're going to be able to start applying more and more intelligence. So you can batch approvals, for example. We can make recommendations on things you should know. We can just help you be more productive by understanding your context. One example I like to give, right, is if I'm leaving for work in the morning, I get a contextual notification from Google talking to me about like the best route to take to go to work, so I can save time on my commute. right? That's a consumer use case. Well, in the workspace, how do we start bringing intelligence based on specific workflows that can have the same effect, that can save you time, that can simplify your work? A simple example there that I like to use is when we submit PTO. So we submit PTO in a system, in an HR system, because we need to comply to some business rules that our companies have. But then what do? We go to email and we block our own personal time. We put probably another invite so people that we work with know that we're going to be out of the office. We set up an out-of-office reminder. All in all, that's probably 10 to 15 minutes worth of work just to set up all those things. Why can't that stuff be just automated? Pretty simple workflows, right? Connect system A, B, and C, and just do it. And so this is the type of automation that we want to be able to enable. To be very honest with you, right now we only do very simple things, but we believe that there is a great opportunity in streamlining those workflows over time.
I mean, that's got limitless use cases, right?
Exactly, and it's also, I think, as we work with companies like you and our customers, it also creates great opportunities for industry-specific workflows and things to just expand into. And again, right, we're trying to focus on the mainstream ones, the ones that are relevant to the broader population. And we believe, as you said, that there is a limitless opportunity for improvement in this area.
And this clearly gets better as time goes on and you interact with the system, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, as you can learn the behavior of an end user, you are able to, identify patterns, and those patterns are candidates for automations. That we can apply through essentially machine learning models over time. That's one approach. The other approach is give tools to enable the modeling of the automation of workflows. So that's an area of focus for us in the coming years in being able to improve and leverage the integration foundation that we just built and that we deliver to market. So we can really focus on this vision of simplifying work, right? And delivering those experiences that are unifying work in a secure way. And the security is really key to our customer base. So that's a strong value prop that we're focusing on. That can help guide work and really get the right answers when you need them. And then automate work so we can remove busy work and all of this so we can drive and enable more focus on high value work. And that's really what we're set to do here.
Yeah, I think this gets to Citrix's overall concept here of trying to reach more customers through other means, not just the traditional, virtual app, virtual desktop, x86 world. And I think Citrix is definitely onto something. I was a little skeptical in the beginning. But I definitely see this as a way to provide some of those consumer grade experiences and automation and enhancements in the enterprise world. So I'm really excited about this and can't wait to see how it all unfolds. David, thanks for the time. This has been very helpful for me personally. I think Bill probably got a lot out of it, and
absolutely,
our listeners did as well.
Okay, thanks so much for your time, guys.
So, David, will you be at Citrix Summit, the partner conference, in a week?
Yeah, I'm at Summit. I'm looking forward to it. It's always an exciting way to start the year. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely be there. We got about 25 people coming, but I'll find you somewhere through there and meet you in person and say hello. And if you don't already know our CTO, Pete Downing, I'll try to get you connected with him. And I've actually got a group of guys that I'm bringing with me that are joining us specifically to do workspace intelligence types of development work, both the API development as well as the integration. So I definitely want to introduce you to those guys if I can make that happen.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right. With that, Bill, anything else?
Nothing else. This is, I'll kind of echo what you said. I was a little skeptical at first myself, but this is really taking it to the next level, the whole workspace concept. And I think this is a really positive development.
It's something that has to be done. And so why not? No, why not Citrix?
Exactly.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate you doing this with me, and we'll do it again, David. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Citrix Session with your hosts, Andy Whiteside and Bill Sutton. A special thanks to our guests, podcast produced by Pete Downing. Head over to XenTegra.com/podcast to listen to all podcasts in this series.